Thank you, Veronica. Okay, I'm going to switch screens on you here for a minute. So sorry about that. It's going to be kind of quick. These are kind of some informal slides that we wanted to kind of get out of the way ahead of time. So this will be quick. A little bit of this will be to attempt to explain what on earth we're doing with all this, because I'm sure some of you are wondering. And then we'll summarize some things about this that might be a little bit different for CAPE than they are for WIOA 2. We're keeping it kind of unofficial for right now, so we're just sort of doing these slides off the beaten path. But what I wanted to start with, and this will probably be a little bit annoying, I suppose, but I'll say I was pleasantly surprised by how many names on the participants list I didn't know. I was really expecting to have it be 95% or more people that show up at every CASAS presentation and thereby probably won't get much out of this, but a lot of you don't. So I think a lot of you will get a lot out of this. But the short answer is what we're doing for CAPE with the survey is very similar to what we've done the last couple of years with WIOA 2. That is, we've got a new wizard in TE to send out these surveys automatically to students. That's the bottom line. So if you've been doing this for WIOA 2 over the last couple years, you'll find it to be way closer to the same than it is different. The technology for the new CAPE Wizard, 99% the same, is the one we've used for WIOA 2 now since the beginning of 2019. So the question is for the participants, we'll try to keep it simple. I'm curious how many of you do WIOA 2 and know all about doing the survey, but we're just kind of wondering about CAPE, versus how many of you really don't know about this follow-up survey business at all. So we'll force you to choose all or nothing, where you know everything about it or you know nothing. I know most of you would say somewhere in between, but as a show of hands, how many of you would say, yeah, you're really familiar with this? You've done the survey every quarter since that we've had it for WIOA 2. You really know all about it, but you just can't let a Nicole and Jay presentation get away without you sitting in. How many of you would profess to being like that, where, yeah, you know it all, you're just here because you can't stand it? Okay, Lydia, you raised your hand. Yeah, I'll call you out. You're the poster child. You never miss any of this. And so, yes, Renee, you're on the same list. Yanira, same list. Okay, great. Some are saying nothing. Okay, it's more balanced than I thought. I'll just say I really thought everybody here would be like Linda or Lydia, or Karen or Yanira that knows it all. But, I see a lot of you, hey, I don't know anything about this. So the point is, some of you like Lydia or Karina that know all this backwards and forwards and probably should be doing the training yourselves. You'll have to bear with me and Nicole and talking about a lot of stuff you know already. So that includes this. So for those of you that don't really know this stuff and haven't been involved and really feel like you just need to get the basic information, this is dating back 3 or 4 years ago when we first started doing those CAPE accountability trainings. Some of you, how many of you are willing to admit you remember this slide? This is from like the 2017 CAPE accountability training when we first started doing those Neil and Jay show trainings. So some of you admit you remember them. And we were trying to set up the basics of how we were going to do all of this CAPE data collection. So this is one we showed where we talked about how we're going to use our TE data collection, and we were going to use it in a combination with data match to get all of that information to the state legislature every year. So Diana remembers that, we had a big 9 olive martini slide that looks a little bit like the second one I'm going to show you here, by the way. But we had this one to show up how we did our data match. So going back to 2017, that's when at the federal level, we moved completely out of WIA and into WIOA. Sorry, I'm another obnoxious survey question. How many know what I'm talking about when I bring up the transition from WIA to WIOA in 2016-17? A lot of you do. So when we did that at the federal level, and because of that at the state level, very much the same way, we, okay, you're all going down nostalgia lane. Everybody remembers some things and not others. That's good. Okay, so we talked about how, with CAPE and WIOA 2, based on things moving at the federal level. The federal rules got way more complicated. So as such, they set it up to where they really expected California and all other states to use data match to get these results related to wages and employment and moving on to college, rather than the survey method a lot of us were using pre-2016. So this is the slide we showed to show how proudly we were going to move out of some of that crazy stuff and start using data match. We were going to be much more sophisticated. So here are the 3 data matches we have. We've got one at CDE for the HSE, that is HiSET and GED. We have one at the Chancellor's office where we match post-secondary or college outcomes. And then in the middle, we have that one with EDD where we data match for employment and wages. So we also used to show a slide that looked a lot like this one, where, hey, we've got all these different data matches we're doing, job outcomes through EDD, college outcomes through the Chancellor's office, and HSE outcomes through CDE. We put it all in a big funnel, and that yields our CAPE data output. We had another one that was even crazier looking that had all of our 6 areas of AB 104 with the 3 areas of data match to say, put all 9 ping pong balls in a funnel and out comes our overriding CAPE data output. That's just memory lane for you, I guess. But the point is, we started exclusively doing all this through data match for a couple years. You know, that's how we rolled. But as you know, but the bottom line was, especially at the EDD side, CDE and the Chancellor's office do their data match. Chancellor's office expects social security number. CDE expects either GED ID or HiSET ID. But at the end of the day, those matches include fuzzy matches where we'll look at things like first name, last name, gender, date of birth. If all those match, it's considered a match. So for post-secondary and HSE, our data is actually pretty much okay because we have a fuzzy match that catches students. EDD has always said SSN, 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 and SSN. Anything else is 125% no way. So if you don't have social security number, you're guaranteed to have a 0% chance of getting a match. So as you well know, through issues we've discussed forever, that guarantees that California will submit exceedingly lousy data when it comes to employment results, because we've got to have social. You know, when we started WIOA, we were like at 7 or 8%. So our data was beyond overwhelmingly disgracefully lousy. Yes, it was lousy. Yes, the feds realized it. Yes, they did call us on it. Yes, they had said we had to do a lot better, not just a little bit better, for us to be doing anything other than 125% unsatisfactory. So that was 2017, and that's when we decided we had to do this employment and earnings survey for WIOA 2, if nothing else, to get the feds off our back because of the EDD requirement. Our data match was about 50 times lousier than anything the feds would ever accept. So we had to go back to surveying, even though we knew it was cumbersome, even though it yielded lousy results, etc. So CAPE has basically hopped on this bandwagon as well, because CAPE, as evidenced by these slides, was also reliant on data match for these results. The issue for CAPE was much less severe than it was for WIOA 2, because again, CAPE is not beholden to the feds, but nonetheless, you know, we still were giving lousy employment results to the legislature. So we've got a lot of things we're doing CAPE-wise to try to bolster that, one of which is now throwing some of our non-WIOA students into this survey basket so we can try to get something instead of nothing. And I'll go back to WIOA 2. The survey has not yielded great results for WIOA 2, but it has definitely yielded something, not nothing. We have improved social security number. If we didn't do the survey, we would have improved social security number like not at all. So now that you've got to do the survey, that's forced some districts to get off their high horse and allow social security number. So that's been a positive result. And of course, we don't get great results from this, but we do get something instead of nothing. So we have improved. We're still probably closer to lousy than great, but we are way, 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 way better now than we were a couple years ago when we didn't do this survey. So that's all to say CAPE has seen that. So CAPE has somewhat belatedly and begrudgingly jumped on the survey bandwagon. And so now, as you've seen, there's a new wizard in TE, just like the wizard a lot of you know and love for WIOA 2 reporting, that allows you to automatically send surveys to your students via email, via text, or both. No muss, no fuss. You just need to use that wizard. So I'll stop it on that one and just say, do people follow me on this, or is this nothing more than 5 or 10 minutes you'll never get back? Okay, thank you. All right, people follow. Okay, maybe it's nothing. Okay, following. Okay, everybody's going to let me say that. Okay, great. Okay, so I wanted to set that up just to explain what the heck we're doing. There have been a lot of what on earth are you thinking sort of questions since people saw that wizard. People have rightfully kind of been scratching your heads. I understand why you're scratching your head with this. At the surface, it doesn't make any sense at all. But hopefully with that history, at least it makes some sense as opposed to none. And so also I wanted to bring up some sort of caveats or distinctions for CAPE surveying that's a little different than WIOA 2. It's not 100% official, so I'm sort of putting this off the beaten path. Nicole and I agreed better to keep this informal and out of her official PowerPoint. So I'm doing it separately. But the one thing you all know is the wizard's a completely separate wizard. That was some of the programming that we ran into back, in November, December is, yeah, because the rules are similar, but not exactly the same. They're covering non-WIOA programs. Some of you don't have WIOA. So to be able to thoroughly distinguish those who are in WIOA versus those who are not in WIOA, we needed to do the separate wizard. We really needed to take those extra steps. The consequence would be that we would have a lot of WIOA students that would receive the survey twice. We all agreed that was very bad. We couldn't have that. So we needed to make sure that we did the extra programming to ensure that did not happen. Okay, so that's why we've got the separate wizard. A couple little things that we're doing for CAPE that are different is I think the wizard is going to give you more than you need, but the follow-up is going to be required for the 2 quarters after exit, not the 4 quarters after exit. That's one different. The bigger difference is in WIOA 2, as a lot of you know, we've made a really, 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 really big fuss about running the wizard, sending it to students by text and email, but we know that that's only going to reach a small portion of the students. So to get better response rates, we've been arm twisting you rather severely to say, yeah, after you run the wizard, follow up with postcards or phone calls or in-person interviews or whatever works for you. Don't rely on the TE wizard. And I'd say overall, we've got about a 20% response rate from the wizard, another 20% from the follow-up. So you put them together, the data is not bad, but those who rely just on the wizard, the data statewide gets a lot worse. In CAPE land, we're just living with that. If you want to follow up with phone calls and you want to do all that extra work, the answer, of course, is go ahead, knock yourself out. But if you decide that that's too much work to do the extra phone calling or postcard sending or all that, you don't have to. Are the CAPE data police really going to catch you if you ignored that anyway? As we have joked many, many times, 99% likely that they'd never catch you anyway. But either way, even if the CAPE data police did come down to get you, they're not going to get you for that. We're already saying, it's optional to follow up with postcards and phone calls for the CAPE only. As long as you run that wizard in TE one time, you're officially in compliance to meet the requirement. That's all you've got to do. And then the other thing, I'll dress this up to say, this is an informal requirement now. We've got the wizard in TE. I know a lot of you have run it already just because you couldn't bleep and stand it. So you ran it, before the training. It was like that unwrapped gift under the Christmas tree. It just, you couldn't stand it. You had to find out what was inside. So you unwrap the gift and without waiting for Christmas or whatever. I know a lot of you have done that already. So if you did, it's fine. Great. You're already in compliance, I guess. So we are encouraging you to do this for the third quarter right now, and then do it again for the fourth quarter that's due July 15th or due August 1 for Kate. But if you don't do this year, you're not really in trouble. I'll just say the beginning of year letter that will be coming out soon from Kate statewide, though, will include the survey requirement. So for the start of the 2021-22 year, it will become more official and more punitive starting then. So I think these, well, the first bullet, maybe not a big deal, but bullets 2, 3, and 4, I gotta say, all three of those are kind of a big deal. So I'll just say those are 3 ways in which this CAPE wizard will be a lot different from the process or the policy we followed for WIOA 2. So we agreed that we would just address all these caveats up front and try to get them out of the way. So Nicole will now jump into the feature presentation and hopefully be 100% unfettered from all these pesky policy questions. But I will stop and say what comes up. No. For HF, no, we're talking about, yeah, for HF, no. Yeah, sorry, no on all that. Sorry, the answer to all that's no. HSE doesn't require SSN, it requires GED ID or HiSET ID. SSN is required for the EDD data match, not the HSE data match. And it's also the flip of what you're saying is if they have SSN, they'll be exempt. So but it's a good clearance. Sorry, all of those understandings are incorrect, but it's nonetheless a good reminder that just like for WIOA 2, if you provide social security number for all your students, then you're exempt from all of this, because both the WIOA 2 survey and the CAPE survey will exclude everybody that provides social security number. Bottom line is, if you provide social security number, then that statewide data match we have in place should work just fine. Thank you very much. The survey is put in place for the much larger number of students, of course, that do not have social security number. E2, I don't know what you mean by E2 calls. I don't know what that means, but yeah, I'll just say stay tuned for Perkins. There are things at the state level where Perkins will be streamlined into this, but as far as any follow-up calls you're doing, I'll just say you'll have to talk to the Perkins office for that. I'm aware that you generally do that, but sorry, I know nothing about those details, so I really can't speak to that at all. But I will say next year, it does look like Perkins reporting will be done in TE. I haven't heard a lot about the survey part of it, so I can't answer that. I literally know nothing about Perkins survey. So for now, I'll just say no, that has nothing to do with it. Yeah, you'll just have to live with 2 systems for now with that. But I will say by this time next year, that might be something that's streamlined. I'm not promising that, but I'll say some of that Perkins data you've done separately, you know, will be in TE now, and the official state reporting will now be from TE, you know, details to follow, but there is a chance that that might be streamlined eventually. But I'll just say for now, sorry, I don't have nearly enough information to even answer that. So I'll just say, yeah, you'll have to live with the fact that that's separate. Okie doke. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions. Nicole has already prompted me by grabbing the screen back. So I think I'll mute myself and give myself the hook and let Nicole get started.
Great. So thank you, Jay. And for all of those new to this employment and earnings survey, I just want to reassure you that practice makes perfect. As every quarter that you do it, it gets, you understand the process a little more. I can't say that it gets simpler, but here we go. So just a verification that everybody can see my screen. Can I just get a couple yeses in the chat or a thumbs up or something? Perfect. So this presentation is going to look very familiar if you are a WIOA agency. The process is very similar. You're clicking similar listers, similar wizards. So there shouldn't be too many differences here. But for all those who are new, we're talking about following up with students who do not provide a social security number 2 quarters after they exit. And then there's 3 major parts here that I like to identify. The first is quarter to take survey, the exit quarter, and then the last survey date. So the quarter to take survey is like what I like to call the deliverable quarter. So we'll know that we're going to talk about the quarter to take survey is Q4, the end of year reporting. And then the exit quarter is the group of students who exited that we need to survey. These 2 are going to be different. The exit quarter is going to be 2 quarters behind us and not the current quarter. And then the last survey date, that's the last date that you can send the survey through TOPS Pro Enterprise. So now that I've broken down all 3, I've given you guys this chart, and this chart looks very similar again, but what you won't see is that there's not going to be that extra quarter that WIOA agencies have. We only have that 1 exit quarter. So if you ever need to know where you're at throughout the year, you can look at this chart. You'll see which exit quarter you should be referring to, and then the last date to survey. Throughout this presentation, I'm going to be talking about the requirements for Q4. We're in this weird time where we're almost at the end of Q3, but we're getting into Q4. So for all those who are new, we can focus on Q4 moving forward. So Q4 is defined as April 1st through June 30th. The exit quarter, the students who exited, the exit quarter are for students who exited in program year 2021 Q2. And then the last survey date is going to be that August 1st. I've highlighted that in that box for you. So again, you can always refer back to this if you're confused about what quarter it is versus what quarter you need to take. Don't feel like you have to memorize this. Just go ahead and look back on the presentation. So here we are, tasks to complete. I'll break it down into 5 simple steps. Is the first, prepare your data, which is which you already should have been doing, keeping up with your data quarter to quarter. The second one is to save your exit population using the core performance wizard. The third is to send required surveys. And then the 4th and 5th tasks are suggested. So that's viewing and managing your quarter invitations, and then personally contacting students who don't respond. And as Jay was talking about earlier, that steps 4 and 5 are optional, but here I have them as suggested. So you're really focusing on these 3 steps. The first one you've probably already done. So let's start at task 1 is preparing your data. Finish entering and cleaning all attendance hours. You should have already been doing that if you're keeping up quarter to quarter with your data. Check for students who are marked as retained in program. There's probably a lot of agencies who aren't doing this and don't feel like you need to start doing it now. But if your agency is used to marking retained in program, just know that they're going to probably exit at the end of this quarter anyway. So by end of year, they will officially quote unquote exit. And then the third thing here is to run the core performance report as a pre-check. I always say do this first because you can only run the wizard 1 time. You want to make sure that all the students who you believe exited in program year 2021 Q2 actually have exited, none are coming back, or maybe there's a group of students who are left off. This is always good to do a pre-check. Let's talk more about this report. To get there, you'll go to reports, state reports, California, core performance population. This is going to be a very similar report, the exact same report that you can find under reports, federal reports, core performance population. So if you see it in 2 different places, you're okay, but For CAPE agencies, go ahead and go to this here. It'll also be in a list of all the other CAPE reports available. You're going to select the program year and then the quarter that you're looking at, that's the exit quarter. So again, when you're looking at your core performance population report, you want to run the report as if you're looking at it through what exit quarter you're going to be surveying. And then here's a sample of what that report looks like. I'm going to toggle into TE now. And I see a question. So my core performance report is grayed out. This may be a case where you need to talk to your data manager in TOPS Pro Enterprise. There may be some additional data access rights that you need in order to run these reports. So talk to your data manager. So we're talking about the core performance report. To get to here, we'll go to reports, state reports, California, and then right here under CAPE program hours is the core performance population. It'll default to the current program year. And then under special options, everything is checked. That's quarter one's checked, quarter two's checked, 3 and 4. We're looking only at exit quarter. You don't want to choose the current quarter. And the exit quarter that we're focusing on this for this requirement is 2021 quarter 2. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the core performance report, there's a lot of program years and a lot of quarters thrown everywhere, so bear with me. So I will uncheck quarter 1, I'll leave quarter 2 checked, and then I will generate the report. I've already generated it, so I'm going to look at this screen here. So this is an example of what your core performance population report will look like. It'll have your agency name, the exit quarter that you chosen. If you choose all the exit quarters, you're going to get a very long core performance population report. And here it'll have their start date, end date, if they have a social security number, and then their names. This report's going to be broken down into 2 sections. First, you'll see the NRS NRS students, and those are the students that fall within the federal reporting guidelines. And then we can scroll down, and it might take me a while, so bear with me a little bit. I should have probably used we're in the S's, we're almost there. Almost there. Here we go. Okay, so then there's a section that says CAPE only students. Now, if a student falls within both, if a student falls in, let's say you're both a WIOA agency and a CAPE agency, your students aren't going to fall into both of these tables. They're going to be unduplicated. So don't worry about duplicated names here. They are unduplicated. A CAPE only student would be a student that is in a CTE class, in workforce preparation, those instructional programs that aren't covered under WIOA, they'll fall under this table. So again, you'll want to review this table, make sure it's correct, make sure if maybe we have Hal's social security number, we want to enter in all the social security numbers we can, because that will create a smaller list for us to survey. But that's not available to everybody, so enter what you can. Any questions on the core performance report? And again, if it's grayed out, go ahead and talk to your data manager, and then they should give you access rights. Now, if you are the data manager, then go ahead and contact tech support and they can help you out from there. Okay, so we've just gone over preparing the data, and again, run the core performance population report before you start the other task. So here's our suggested timeline to really break it down between months. So task 2, understanding that you've already done task 1, which is prepare your data. Task 2, you're going to save your exit population for program year 2021 using the NRS core performance wizard. And sorry, this is just Just going to delete this because it's just Core Performance Wizard now. And that'll be done in April. You can't do it today. So if you're looking in your area, if you're looking to do these steps, you can't run the wizard today. You're going to have to wait till April 1 to start doing this. And that's because of exit quarters. And then for task number 3, in April to May, you're going to start sending invites to survey invites to those who exited in 2021 quarter 2. And then for those of you who are going to do the follow-up and want to get 100% on your surveys, then May to June is when we suggest sending follow-up surveys to students who haven't responded. And then you'll have that little grace period from June to July to continue to contact those students who haven't responded. So let me look at the chat. CAPE and WIO students, would that mean technically could just run the CAPE survey wizard? Yes, so the survey, and I'll cover that, Leanna, in the next section. So CAPE students who are exited in second quarter will appear on the list for CAPE only. Yes, so students who exited in 2021 quarter 2 will appear on that list alongside of students who are fall under the NRS guidelines. Okay, now we'll talk about the saving the exit population. That's task number 2. To do this, you'll go under tools and then Core Performance Wizard. So we've updated the wizard so that you only have to do this one time if you fall under a WIOA category and a CAPE category. So it's the same wizard for everybody. Just a lot of different things in the background will happen. Next, you'll select the program year, and this is the program year of your exit population. Luckily, we're looking at 2021, so that means we're selecting 2021 on the screen. Next, you'll select your exit quarter. So the selected exit quarter will be 2, and you can see here that number 2 is selected. Number 1 is gone because that means we've already ran number 1, exit quarter 1. If you're doing this today, you may have that one bubble still there. Go ahead and run it, it's fine. Nothing will happen. And then next, your core performance saved population will generate. This report should look exactly like what we did in task number 1. There shouldn't be anything different, but again, you can click export, you can print it out, you can review this report, because once you click finish, then you can't go back and save this exit population again. And then you'll come up to your last screen and you'll click finish. This is something I actually can't do in in our little Rolling Hills database, so I can't really demonstrate that. But again, you'll go to tools here, Core Performance Wizard. Here's my agency. I'm going to select my exit quarter program year, which is this quarter. Next, and then this is where I have to stop because we're not technically ready to start running quarter 2. On Thursday, the gray button should allow you to go next on the survey wizard. So I'll say yes to that. So simple enough, right? You're just going to where you need to go, clicking through it, making sure the report's correct, and then clicking finish. Again, you can only run this once, you can't run this multiple times. Next up is any other questions just before we move on to actually sending the survey? Okay, so task 3 is sending the required surveys. To do this, you'll go in under records, core performance students, and this is the same lister as you'll see for your WIOA students. And this will include the NRS group of students and then the CAPE only students. To show CAPE only students, you can see we'll add the column is CAPE only, but as a if you're a CAPE only agency, you still want to survey everybody on that list, because some people are going to fall into the NRS student bucket, and then some are CAPE only students. Because again, the CAPE only is like CTE, your workforce preparation. They won't be duplicated. The list should be unduplicated for you. So for those, again, you're not going to be sending students who fall under both categories 2 surveys. They're only going to get 1. When you bring up your screen, it'll list out their student ID, their name, their native language, email, cell phone number, and then by default, your exit quarter is going to be good 2 quarters back. So in this case, it's 2021 Q1 because we're in that program year. Before you start sending out surveys, make sure you have the most up-to-date emails you can, the most up-to-date phone numbers. It's going to make the students who are responding more likely, since you have all of these emails. After you run the wizard on the records, when you should have choose those options CAPE only. I'll show that after I get through this task. But here is your, sorry, I'm just reading the question. Will they be surveyed as a wheel? Even though I'll get to that too, Karen. So I'll get through this and then we'll hop into TE again. So sending in the surveys, you want to make sure everything's correct here. Next up, you'll highlight the students you want to send a survey to, and then you'll click survey, send survey invite. A lot of agencies like to group maybe by class. You might have to do that manually. Maybe you'll only select by native language. Maybe you'll have only your Spanish speakers or your Tagalog speakers in one group, because you can customize the survey, as we'll get to. Then we have email only, phone only. So maybe there's a specific way you want to group your students, because each group of students may need a separate customized survey. And yeah. So you go ahead and click that. Then we're taken to the survey wizard. So I know the word wizard's used a lot here, but this is your second wizard that you're running, is the survey wizard. Everybody that you selected will show up on the screen here. Let's say you had multiple people and you accidentally included John Doe. You can delete John Doe here, and then you can move on to next. Again, you can select your delivery language. There have been more since I took a screenshot of this, and we'll see what those are when I run it in TE. And then we have here their delivery methods. So you can do email in both. It'll send email first, then SMS first, or if you want to do just text message, all up to you. And then here we'll get to this screen. It'll give you 2 options here, and this is by default. So the first invitation delivery date for second quarter after exit will be today's date. So obviously I did this on the 16th. And then it'll have an expiration date, which is May 1st. That's the day after the last day that you can survey. And then it'll have a delivery date for fourth quarter after exit. This is the way that the survey wizard was built in. So it's just going to be on there. I suggest just leaving it with the defaulted dates, and you'll be okay, understanding that you don't have to go ahead and follow up with those 4 quarters after exit. Click next, and then you'll have a choice to either apply without customization, and it'll look pretty plain. And then you can apply survey customization. What we've heard from agencies is just even adding your agency logo will help students know that it's coming from you. So yes, thank you, Linda. School logo is big. And you can play around with changing things in the survey. If you want to preview your customizations, you can preview them here before you actually send it out. You can reset it. So this may be something that you want to play around with a bit before you actually continue through the wizard. So after you've continued through that, here is what the survey looks like. Same questions if you've been doing this for a while. This is what the default looks like. So you can see there's no logo. It's pretty vanilla. So it'll have this little greeting message and you can edit your greeting message to however you like. Then the next question will be, do you have a job now? If they answer yes, then they'll be asked, how much do you usually earn in 1 month? Then they'll be asked, are you attending school in a different area? Yes, no, depending on that, they'll get the fourth question, and then you have your exit response. And both your entry and your exit are totally customizable. Sometimes agencies like to say what's the purpose of the survey, that tell the students that it's going to really help them out. Just becoming more personable with those questions could increase responses. Who does the text message come from on the student side? I think Janice is on here, but I know that the text message is a short code now. I don't know what the number is off the top of my head. That's a short code. But it used to come from like an 858, but I think now it's going through a short code text message.
That's correct. And I do not know the number off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back and answer. I'm gonna go through it in Topsrow Enterprise again. Let me close out all these windows. So at this point, we've ran our survey, our core performance wizard. Now we're gonna go into records, core performance students. And here's a list of all the students that we've generated without a social security number in our wizard. I can right click on the top header here. I can go down and is CAPE only. Sometimes I look at CAPE only, but it's is CAPE only. That'll add that column. I can filter here for yes. So it looks like there's none, and this may be a specific case for Rolling Hills database, but if you did have some students who are CAPE only, it would show here. Don't filter out, this is kind of like a need to know. You don't really need to add this column because everybody in this list should be getting surveyed. I think I got that answer first. CAPE students appear, so they're gonna appear on that list. After you run the wizard is when you have to choose the CAPE only option. Everybody on this list is going to cover all your CAPE bound basis, because when you run that core performance wizard, your CAPE students are going to be in both tables. If a student exits in a WIOA program but remains in the agency as CAPE only student, they will be surveyed for the WIOA exit even if they continue with us. Yes, I want to say yes. I would need to see a specific example, Karen, but my guess is that they are exiting, and they'll only show up on the NRS students table side. They're not going to show up. Yeah, they would still show up on that top part.
I'll add in here, it's a really good question, Karen. I think what Nicole said technically is completely right. Yeah, technically, yes. You know, kind of admitting that when this happens, it's not always as clean cut as your example. So I could easily see some caveats there where if you haven't really completely exited the student out or whatever, you know, it may not necessarily be as clear cut as your example. But if everything's perfect, then yeah, the fact that they exited ESL, I mean, they're completely out of your WIOA 2. So from a WIOA 2 standpoint, yes, they're an exit.
How to select by class. That's not an easy thing to do from this lister. You might have to export, determine who's in a class, and then select. Now, here I can select, highlight a student. Then I can click, I'm holding down my control button on my keyboard, and I can individually click students. I'll undo that. Here I can hold down my shift on my keyboard. I can highlight a group of students, and then I can click on send survey invite. So do I want to administer a survey invite to these 18 students? Yes. Let's see if I'm missing. Okay, so that took a little while, but here we are in the survey wizard. I'll click next. And okay, so now I have my 18 students, and maybe I didn't mean to choose all the Spanish, the students who have a native language in Spanish. So let me highlight those and I'll click on delete selected records. And we'll only focus, and here I'm holding shift again, delete, and I'm just deleting them from this record list. They're not deleting from our database. So now I have only these 8 students here, all with a native language in English. I'll click next through the survey wizard. Delivery language is in English, but here are all the other ones. If you have a specific language that you would like to see on this list, we need it translated, and then we can look into putting them into our system, but we need help from agencies to translate for us to put it in here. Again, English. My delivery method, I'm going to go do both because I feel like, yes, do both all the time, right? Here, select the delivery date for second quarter. It's defaulting to today, and the last day for them to use this survey is going to be on May 1st. I'm just going to ignore this for now. Just know that they'll probably receive another survey on 8/18, but as for CAPE requirements, we don't really need to worry about that. Now, administer without customization. I can do that if I want to, but it'll look very plain and have that weird background. So let's go to apply survey customization. And I'm going to go through a little quicker now because I see that we're running low on time, but here I can enter an alternative agency name. And then here my email body. So if I wanted to edit this, I can edit it here. I could scroll down and see all the other options. Here's the text that I can change as well, the welcome ending. And then if I needed to preview any of the changes because I wasn't sure of what I did, I can click preview survey in student portal. I can copy that and then I can just put it in a browser and it'll take me to that. I think I have to wait, so. Let me keep scrolling. Oh, here's the logo on this first one. Let me scroll all the way down. So I can select an image, or if I want it on the left or right, actual size. So it looks like that's something that agencies highly recommend you do. If we send an SMS message and the student responds, does the response come back to us via email? I'll get to that. It's going to get put into TE for you. So I'm going to cancel here because if I keep on clicking next, it's going to actually send out these surveys, but it'll have you finish through the wizard. Sure, I want to exit? Yes. Now I think I copied that preview. So here's a preview of what it's going to look like on desktop. I can start as John. Do I have a job? Yes. Month. If I don't want to respond, I can put a 1. And I can keep going through that survey. So this is what it's going to look like for students. If I had applied any customization, it would have showed here. Great, so that is all you need to do when you're looking at sending out the surveys and what's required for CAPE. Now I'm going to quickly go through, since we're going low on time here, about what you need to do to look at the responses. So if you want to look at all the invitations that you've sent, you'll go under Records, Invitations. And on here, this is where you're going to start to click different buttons if you're not used to the WIOA, or if you're used to the WIOA way. You'll under filter here, you'll click that. And then under this filter again, you can click on CAPE survey invitations, NRS survey invitations. By default, it'll show all. So if you really want to be specific, maybe you don't necessarily care about your CAPE survey invites and you want to just look at NRS, or if you only want to look at the current quarter, you'll click current quarter and it'll filter out for you. Something about this invitations lister is that it only shows the quarter to take survey. It's not going to show you which exit quarter those students are in. So you may see duplicated students on this lister, but that's because they might have exited multiple times, which may be that why they're showing up in multiple quarters to take survey. And again, once a student gets sent a text message, gets sent an email, then all the responses get put back into Topsprout Enterprise. And then you can view the responses under records, survey responses. You can also resend invites from here. And then again, you'll click on the filter button. And right now it's defaulted as CAPE only exiters. You may need to play around with this filter here to get the big group of students. And then you can view all their responses. You can double click on a student. It'll show this screen, the quarter to take survey, which quarter they exited. Did they access the survey? That means, did they open it? Did they respond? That's if they clicked finish. So there's a chance that some accessed it, but they didn't fully respond. You can write contact notes if you felt like you wanted to follow up with them manually, call them on the phone, contact status. Then you'll see their answers here. And if they answered it, information about the student. And then you can click on, let's say if you don't have any of the responses, you can click on answer survey here. And it'll take you to that pop-up window as I showed you in the browser. You'll enter in the students' responses. So I would call Claudia in this example. Claudia would tell me her responses and I'd enter it in the student portal myself. I'll click through finish and then I'll click on get item responses and it'll refresh the screen. Now we have some available exports for those who are interested in responses. You can click on export student survey items, and it'll give you each student and their response at the very end, what they've answered to every question. So now I'm going to go into the chat really quick. See here, task 4. So task 4 and 5 are optional, right? Yes. After we send the survey invitation, technically the requirement has been fulfilled. That is correct. And again, if you're looking to see if you've even sent out these survey responses, I'd go into records, survey responses, and then filter here. And by default, CAPE, exiters, it'll be all by default here. So you'll be able to see who you've sent them to. It may be a little weird here because of the Rolling Hills database, but your database will look a little different, that's for sure. Any other questions? We have 3 minutes left. I think I've shown everything I can. Not sure why this one. Oh, I think Rolling Hills isn't showing anything because just the way that the Rolling Hills database is set up is why it's probably not showing, but yes. Can we add a logo without being in the actual survey that's originally set up? Is that a tech question? Can you add a new logo without being in the actual survey? I think, so when you're going through the survey wizard, it'll apply the same customizations that you did last time. So if you've added a logo, that logo will be there again. So if you want to change it for a specific group of students, you'll need to go back into the survey wizard and update the that logo for that. One last thing before I end, is that everything employment and earnings survey can be found at this link here that's in your PowerPoint. You can always email cape@casas.org. And by April 1st, and I do this for WIOA, we have these task schedules. And what I do in this, we'll post this eventually on the CASAS website and possibly on CAPE, is that I run through step-by-step, button by button on what to click. So if you don't want to memorize all these steps every quarter, I will go through all these steps for you quarter to quarter for those who are CAPE funded. So just know that this is always going to be available to you. If you have any questions or if you get stuck on a certain part, it really takes you button by button. Will TE be looking in a way to remove students who have re-enrolled so currently? So Linda, your question is if a student re-enrolls, then, so I'll take a step back. The definition of an exited student, they have to have those 90 days of no services, no hours, no nothing. So if they re-enroll within those 90 days, then they technically haven't exited your program. They need to really exit in order for them to come up on the wizard. Is there a calendar out there to remind us when? No calendar yet. And I think I have 1 more minute. Do we need to be in the survey? Or can I customize the work before? I think you have to run the wizard first, Anna, to send out those, to customize it. I would have to kind of double check on that one. But I will stick around if there's any other questions. And sorry, Veronica, I really pushed it up to this minute part, but that's it for me. And again, if you have any questions, you can always email me. I will put my email in the chat. I'm very friendly, I promise. And we can get those questions answered to you.
All right, Nicole, and no worries at all. Thank you for today's webinar. Thank you, Jay, as well, and the rest of the TAP team. And thank you all for participating in today's webinar. We have posted the resources in the chat, so you will have access to the PowerPoint. We also posted the evaluation link to let Jay and Nicole know what you thought about this webinar. And if there are additional professional development and technical assistance needs that you have at this time, we'll use those results to plan future webinars and or trainings. So definitely take a few minutes to complete that evaluation. Also, we have posted links for our upcoming professional development opportunities next week, the week after next. We will be hosting the Introduction to the CAP State Priorities webinar with Neil Kelly of the CAP office. We'll also be to host professional learning circles on transition as well as immigrant integration. So if you have not done so, please those few opportunities and the other opportunities that are listed on the website. Also continuously check the registration site as we are continuously opportunities on that website so that you'll be up to date and be able to register for all that are of interest to you and that you're able to attend. But again, thank you all very much for participating in this webinar, and we hope you all have a great day and great rest of your week, and we will see you all hopefully again on April 6th. So have a great day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.